Hello and welcome to South Bay UX October edition. It is our 29th meetup. I think it's our third or fourth one from Shelter in Place. Usually we meet on the Google Cloud campus in Sunnyvale, California, but sadly in March, we were told to stay home, and that's where we are today, broadcasting live right out of our homes. Hopefully we'll be able to get together again soon and see each other face to face. But we have a fantastic program tonight with Yanci Wu speaking. And I want to tell you that this is your meetup. Every single person that puts on this meetup, that speaks, that volunteers, this is coming out of their personal time to create a great UX community for the South Bay and beyond. And if you would like to be a part of this, feel free to reach out on Slack, which we'll show you in a second here. And right now we're looking for people to give us pro tips on live stream. What can we do better? We're also looking for speakers and for someone to maybe volunteer to create a website for us. I also want to thank our fantastic sponsors. We have Tech Systems, Sketch, and Google, who have sponsored this meetup for a long time now, and we really appreciate them. If you are not part of our Slack group, please join it. On our Slack group, we have job postings, we have discussions about design, we have insider tips about the next meetup. And you're on Slack anyway, so join us. And when you do enter the URL, just remember that it is case sensitive. We also are looking for volunteers, as I mentioned. I'd like to create a website for this group, and we need some help doing that. And if you are interested in particular with that, but also with community wrangling, with speakers, other event support, please do reach out on this forum, and it is also case sensitive. Right now, it is time for our raffle, and when we are in person, we typically draw names out of a fancy bowl, and we shout and cheer for the people who won licenses. But today we are going to put up a banner, and you guys were chosen randomly via JavaScript. So the winners tonight are Cindy, Gary, Oliver, and James. Congratulations. And I will reach out to you on meetup.com, and we will work with you to get the license to you. And now I'd like to bring in Megan from Tech Systems to discuss who's hiring.
Hey, thank you. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Megan. I am from Tech Systems. We are a design specialized agency we help place designers with top design teams in the area. So if you are interested in being connected with one of our design recruiters, fill out the Google form that's attached. It's in the banner, and we'll have someone from our design team reach out to you. And if you are hiring, please comment, please post what your company is, what you're hiring for, and how candidates can get in touch with you. We're happy to try to get our design community new jobs. So if you are interested, please reach out and comment.
Thank you, Megan. And now I'd like to bring in Kelly Thompson to talk about design at Google.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Thompson. I am a recruitment manager here at Google, working in the UX space, where we cover anything from designers to researchers to UX engineers to UX writers across North America. It's always a pleasure to be able to join you all, either virtually or in person, and happy to do it. And so just wanted to share that Google is always hiring, and we've set up something really, which I hope is really helpful, in that we host on probably every quarter a type of workshop that enables you to kind of understand the Google process and how to navigate it more effectively. So if that is something that you're interested in, Aaron will be sharing a form for you to add your name to that list and come join us and talk to some recruiters around how to put your best foot forward if you want a career at Google. So with that, I will turn it back over. Thank you for having me, Aaron.
Thank you, Kelly. Oh, Okay, next week, we need a speaker. If you are interested in speaking, if you know someone that's interested in speaking, do reach out to me. And I do want to say that speakers come from all different backgrounds, and we know that the audience here understands something that the rest of the audience doesn't understand. You have certain knowledge locked up inside your brain that just deserves to be shared out. And if you are interested in doing so, please reach out to me on Slack and we'll get you started. We are looking for speakers for the next quarter, November through January, and I look forward to hearing from you. But now we're going to bring in Yanci. Yanci has a really interesting story, and I'm really looking forward to her talk. And please share your presentation, Nancy, and Yanci will enjoy you talking about new beginnings and how to design your career through a human-centered lens.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Let me share my screen. Let's see. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, cool. Let's get started. All right. So thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm assuming that you're here today because you're looking for something new. Maybe you just finished a bootcamp and you're looking for a job in UX, or maybe you are an industrial designer or graphic designer and you're looking to pivot into product design. Or perhaps you're simply just unhappy with where you are right now in your career and you're looking for something new. So today I'm going to share a framework with you, a framework that will hopefully help you to get to know yourself better and get to know your situation better so you can make your own decisions with clarity, intention, and confidence. So here's the framework. Maybe a lot of you are already familiar with it. This is called the double diamond human-centered design process. So it has two parts. In part one, you do your research. You're trying to identify the problem to solve. And in part two, you're trying to solve the problem through design, and you land on a solution. When it comes to career, a lot of people hold a rather passive approach. So they only focus on what's the problem right now and what comes next, without spending the time to paint a big picture for themselves. They jump directly into solution, skipping the research and design parts, which to me is essential if you really want a career that's sustainable and truly fulfilling. So we spend about 50% of our awake time on this planet working, and I think it deserves our attention and time to make this experience right. And today I'm going to share with you a proactive approach to your career, how you can design your career using a human-centered lens. So first and foremost, we need to identify the right problem to solve, because solving the wrong problem is worse than solving any problem at all. So let me ask you, what brought you here today? What's on your mind? And what do you think is the problem you're facing right now? Maybe you're thinking that I need a job, I need a different job or a better job. But if I ask you to think again, you might realize that all the things I just said are not actual problems. Because if you put someone else in your situation, they might feel completely fine. So the real problem is that you aren't feeling satisfied. And the problem is that you aren't feeling the way you want to feel. So we see there is a misalignment between your inner desires and your outer reality. And in order to understand what this misalignment is, we need to understand you, and we need to understand your reality. First, let's spend a moment to understand you. And that brings us to the user research part. And here you are your own user. So let's do some self-research. What do you want in life? Take a moment to think about it. What do I want in life? And if your brain is completely blank, without at least a few ideas going on, you might be due for some soul searching. But this is by no means an easy question to answer, because a lot of times we're simply on autopilot. We're just doing things that are habitual, the things that we're taught to do, we're used to do, the things that everyone else seems to be doing. So it's important to ask yourself, what do you want in life? If money is not a concern for you, and if you only have 5 years left on this planet, how would you rather spend your time? Let's try to answer this question together. Now, recall 3 moments that made you really happy. You can take a piece of paper and pen and try to write it down. 3 moments in your life, very vivid memories that brought you a strong sense of joy. So when I did this exercise, this is what I wrote down. I remember I traveled to the Maldives for the first time with my handicapped aunt in 2018. She had never been out of the country before, so it was a life-changing experience for both of us. And I remember when I was cooking camp food in Naked Falls in Washington with my best friends and coworkers last summer. We were all gathering around the campfire and we're singing, talking about life. It was such an unexpected and amazing moment. And also, I really enjoy watching documentaries on YouTube in the evenings while cooking some homemade food. And this is a reoccurring event for me. So here are just 3 examples, but if you have had a wonderful life, feel free to write down more, like 6, 8, or 10. And then you're going to put all these memories on a piece of paper and piece them together. And then you're going to start highlighting the words that speak to you, the words that made this memory special. And here are my words. And I started seeing the things that make me excited, the things that, I care about in life, the things I value. And we call this my core values. And the core values are going to play a huge part in your career decisions. And then put yourself back in those memories one by one and ask yourself, try to feel how you felt at that moment. So in Maldives, I felt relaxed, I felt adventurous and serene. And I felt safe, connected, and fun. And I feel curious, healthy, and balanced. And then when I put them together, I started seeing this picture with all the emotions that made me feel centered, that made me feel me. And this is my emotional metrics. And then ask yourself, how are you feeling now? What is the general mood in the past few days, weeks, and months? And if you put all the 2 sets of emotions side by side, you might start seeing a discrepancy. And maybe it's a big discrepancy, a big gap. And maybe that's an indicator that you need a change in your career. And then we're going to try to write a user story for yourself. And this is just a story that made up. It has some elements of my own life, but mostly made up. And let's take a look. So Taylor is a 30-year-old woman who currently works as a UX designer in Portland, Oregon. She loves the city and her studio apartment, which became her home office since COVID. She makes enough money to sustain the lifestyle she enjoys. Her job keeps her busy, but not too busy. She has sufficient time to pursue her hobbies in the evenings and weekends, such as painting, hiking, and cooking. As much as she appreciates the great work and life balance she has, she often finds herself working on things she doesn't feel passionate about. She craves a sense of purpose. She would like to dedicate her life energy to causes she feels emotionally connected to while maintaining her balanced lifestyle. Ideally, her next position will allow her to work from wherever she wants, so she can travel more and spend some time with her family. And she's debt-free and lives a frugal lifestyle. So money is not her top concern, but she wouldn't mind a higher pay so that she can achieve financial freedom sooner. So this is my first draft. You can see it's kind of all over the place. And the point is to get started. And it doesn't, like, don't edit, just like your journaling, which I highly recommend. Journaling, just like write it down how you feel and what's the problem you are dealing with right now. And then you're going to keep iterating on it. And the more iterations you've done, and the more crisp the story will become. And this is what I want, what we want, a very concrete and crisp story that tells your past, your present, and your future aspirations. And then now, once you have a better understanding about you and what you value, we're going to set a goal. So the best goals are usually very concrete, specific, and also achievable. So we want to move away from goals like this. This doesn't tell me your intention, your motivation. We want something like this. I want to be a product designer in a fintech company where I can work from the West Coast and make 100K or more. So this tells you and the recruiters that you have a clear intention, that you have done your research, and you're aware there is this ocean of UX design job titles. And you deliberately chose to be a product designer, and you chose a sector that maybe you're passionate about, and you want to work for certain regions, maybe because of the lifestyle it provides, and you want to be compensated in a certain way. So this will help you to narrow your focus and to tailor your strategy and stand out among your competitors. It will be obvious during interviews that you know exactly that's the opportunity that resonates with you, and you don't just want a job. So how does success look like? The success will look differently from person to person. And this is how my success will look like based on my KPIs. So these are the set of core values that I identified for myself earlier. So whatever I do in my career, I would like to ask myself, am I able to do all or most of these things? Can I stay connected to my family? Do I have time to travel? Can I still cook and eat healthy food and feel mentally balanced and a sense of purpose? And then these are my emotional metrics. I'm going to use them to help me measure whether my KPIs are met. Now, after we set a very concrete and achievable goal, it's time to see what options are out there for you. And that brings us to the market research part. So there are a few layers here. First, we need to gather information. Do research on the economy, on the market, the industry, and the company, their competitors and employees, and talk to people on LinkedIn, your friends and families, and just gather as much information as you can. And at least at this stage, I would try to stay neutral and be aware of the biases you could have, just like any other type of research. So this is a divergent thinking. And then we're going to try to prototype your alternative futures. Here are some examples. In future A, I work for a tech giant X. I get paid very well. I have a good work-life balance, but limited impact on the business. I'm able to stay where I am now, but will likely need to relocate to San Francisco in the long run. Scenario B, I work for a clean energy startup Y. I love what I do and feel a strong sense of purpose. My compensation is fair, but I work about 50 hours a week. I'm able to work 100% remotely if I want to. And in scenario C, I work for fintech company Z. I moved to New York for it. I enjoy the problems I'm solving on a daily basis, but I really miss going to the woods on the weekends. So I would go back to your KPIs and emotional metrics and ask yourself which scenario best match my core values. Personally, I would probably go with B, just because I care about nature and sustainability, and I want a sense of purpose, and remote working is also important to me. So the point is that You're not trying to get a job in the best the most sought after company, or get a job that pays the most if it doesn't, it's not things that you care about, right? And so maybe you're ambitious and you want to be a leader. You might want to go with opportunity that provides the most room for growth. Or maybe you have a lot of student debt and you really just need to pay it off ASAP. So the compensation might be a priority. Or perhaps you just want a job that's good enough that you can fund and sustain your lifestyle and side hobbies, and that's totally valid. So ask yourself, what are relevant to you, and only focus your energy on the things that you deem important and valid. So the last step is to focus, and this is the convergent part again, and then to craft a strategy that is very intentional and very tailored to the type of opportunities that suit you. So there are a lot of ways to craft a strategy. Personally, I prefer storytelling. One of my favorite authors, Yuval Harari, said, "Humans think in stories, and we try to make sense of the world by telling stories." So we're going to craft a compelling story for yourself. And so this story will include your strategy. And story is how your strategy will be manifested. I think having a compelling story is probably the first thing that everyone should do if you're looking for a change in your career. And think your story as an overarching theme, as a your own branding that should be consistent across all touch points. And that will include some questions like, tell me about yourself, your portfolio, and everything you say. Tell me about yourself. This is a question that you will be asked again and again. Usually it's the first question that recruiter or hiring manager asks. And remember that they are not asking you to recite or translate your resume. They've already seen it, most likely. They're asking for elevator pitch. So see yourself as a movie, and how can you make a 3-minute trailer that's compelling and memorable and present yourself to them. Earlier, we've talked about writing your user story, which is centered around who you are, what you value, what you want. And this time, we're going to pivot that story, and we're going to have it focused on the values you can bring to the opportunity you are pursuing. A few steps. First, you need to position yourself properly. After the research, you need to know that who are you competing with, and what the market is like, and where you stand. And second, you need to know your strengths. So go through your whole life and then extract those attractive moments, those interesting characteristics about you, not just about your work, but you, like your history and how you communicate with people, all those things. And then connect them to the opportunity you're pursuing and make them relevant. Why should your interviewers care about these? And third is to know your weaknesses and prepare the answers ahead of the time. Maybe you lack experience. I think that's a common thing. And maybe you're not the best visual designer, and know what your weaknesses are, and then try to address them ahead of time, or at least come up with a strategic answer for that. So your portfolio is the thing that will get you to interviews. A lot of times this is your storefront. It's the first touch point that people are going to encounter before you have the opportunity to tell your story verbally. And your portfolio, every element on it is communicating something. And you need to ask yourself, is it communicating something that I want recruiters to see? Or is it saying something irrelevant, or something that could potentially hurt me? So think about this And while you go through your whole site, from the headline on your homepage to your navigation, to your choice of case studies, to the layout, to the about page. Everything needs to be able to tie back to your story. Everything needs to have an intention behind it. And then again, everything else you say, no matter if you are presenting your portfolio work or presenting your design exercise or answering interview questions, try to be diplomatic and strategic about the words you choose. And then once you have a story, it would be nice if you can test it. So this comes our user testing, which is super important. So think about who your users are. Are you targeting advertising agencies or nonprofits or startups or big tech companies? What are the languages they speak? And then try to find people that are closest to the recruiters and hiring managers in those organizations. I know that ADP list provides free, you can find free mentors on there. You can go there and book a 30-minute meeting and then ask them to go through your portfolio, ask for candid feedback. Like, is my portfolio ugly or is my story boring? I know those negative feedback don't feel good, but they help ground us in reality and provides us a chance to address those problems before the real interviews. And then the final part is the actual interviews. And this is time to sell yourself as a case study. This is not a time to be humble. You have done all the work, and this is a time to be proud of what you have done, to be unapologetic and charismatic. You need to own your past, whatever that is, and own your future and own your present. And you need to help your interviewers to see your values and your potentials and to convince them that you will be their best investment. Maybe that means you need to speak different languages to different people, when there's a cross-functional interview, and based on their roles and their communication style, and try to listen carefully. What are they really asking? Is there a question behind the question? So we have gone through this human-centered design process, but this is not the ending. This is just part of the process. Your career is not a destination, it is a journey, and it is an iterative journey. At any point of time, don't hesitate to slow down. I think as a society, we move very fast. We move too fast. So slow down and ask yourself those questions like, what do I care about? How do I want to contribute to the world? How am I feeling right now? And see if there is a gap between your inner desires and your outer reality. You will see the difference if you are working for causes that you truly feel passionate about in an environment that you feel connected to. I believe that a happy employee is a productive employee. And I want to end the talk with a quote from Sun Tzu, a ancient Chinese philosopher and a military strategist. He said, "Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated." Thank you.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Yanci. For those that are on the live stream, feel free to drop your questions into the chat. We'll do about 15-20 minutes of questions right now. I am going to start out with a question myself because let's see here. So people come from a wide variety of backgrounds, and some people have had, really amazing life experiences where they've just seen a lot of the world or traveled a lot, and they've been exposed to a lot of things. If you haven't had that, like if you're kind of new to the field and you're not really sure what's out there, how would you go about discovering what you might be missing?
So I think that the best way to really discover, well, I always start with Google. Yeah, I like reading Medium articles, and but again, like I think those resources like articles and LinkedIn posts will give you some like a general idea of what's going on in the industry. But I think the best way is to talk to people, is like the user testing part. Like if you spend like weeks iterating on a design and you are so used to your own work, and so are your team, and it's very hard for you to see like what's missing. And when you're actually talking to the users, in this case are mentors and people that in the industry, and they're going to give you an honest feedback.
Great. Ranjini has a question. How do you iterate when you fail? That's a really good question.
Man, how do you iterate when you fail? Well, I think I don't want to be too like philosophical, but I'm trying to convince myself that there's never any failure in life, because we constantly learn stuff, and we actually learn more when we fail. Right? Because when we succeed, we just feel good, and then we're gonna get used to the success. But when we fail, and it hurts. And when you fail, try, like when I failed in the past, and yeah, like it sucks. And then I feel like, oh my God, maybe I'm just like not very smart, and maybe I'm just like incompetent, and it's completely normal. And just let those, let yourself to absorb those emotions, and tell yourself that you are learning things, and how do you like get those emotions out first, absorb them, and then ask yourself, what did I learn from the experience? Why did I fail? Right? It's like I would just write a journal about the things that how I could improve. And then you really work on that. You kind of translate that, I don't know, those negative energy into motivation. And then next time you're gonna really hone on those skills. I think this is how you iterate. Like, yeah, a lot of times we really like suffer more in our imagination than in reality.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a great answer. Rosie actually has two questions. Can you share what it's like to work when you work with cross-functional teams? And then what advice do you have for a junior designer for applying for a design agency?
Yeah, so I think, so I've realized that in the past few years, that like your soft skills is probably more important than the hard skills, because you can, I think there are a lot of good designers, but like if you are not a good collaborator, communicator, it will be very hard to produce great work, because UX design is never a solo project. You are going to work with different people, and different people have different views. Like, for example, developers, and sometimes they want things like very buttoned up. It also depends on the type of engineers. I've worked with engineers who are like designers, and they want to brainstorm with designers, and we were just working Figma file together. And I've worked with developers that want everything to be specced out. So certain role in general, you can assume that certain role will have their own language. Like product manager probably is going to care about the metrics and KPI, right? Writers is going to care about words. But then it would be nice if you could actually get to know your coworker personally and see what their preference. So what's the second question, Julian?
Yeah, sorry about that. It is, what's your advice for a junior designer for applying to a design agency?
Junior designer, 1 year old, 1 year experience.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think what I've heard the most is that people don't have like enough work experience. Maybe you can try to create your own side project and then put it out there. So it will be a great case study. And also you will have full control of that project. It would be nice if you can collaborate with a few other, maybe your friends, so that you can show your collaboration skills as well. Again, I think, know your weaknesses. Lack of experience is your weakness, but what is your strengths? Like maybe you're a fast learner. Maybe you have a background in like medicine and you want to work for companies like do medicines, like find out what stand out in your story and then highlight that.
That's a great piece of advice. I love the kind of fake it till you make it approach.
Yeah.
It works wonders. Bast has a question. What part of in the UX job you spend quite a lot of time on, but you don't really enjoy, and why?
What part of your job that you spend quite a lot of time? I think I really enjoy everything, as long as it makes sense. Like I enjoy research. I enjoy wireframing and prototyping and testing if it's actually solving the problem. But when I was working on things that I felt was kind of irrelevant, or for example, maybe I was using a wrong methodology for the user testing, for the research. I'm not really finding helpful insight. I'm just seeing like repetitive feedback, like common sense. Then I think I just want to raise that to the whole team. Like, hey, I don't think this is very helpful. Can we change? Yeah. I think I'm very goal-oriented. I always try to think, why are we doing this? And is it making any sense?
That makes sense to me. Sarah has a question. How important is visual design elements in the UX design portfolio?
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think humans are very visual. For example, if you're going to Macy's and you see a very fancy, I don't know, like a set of cookware, and then you're gonna be, you will want to pay more for that because it looks good. Does it really work well? You don't know, right? But because the packaging is good, and you just automatically assume that this is a high quality product. So it's the same when it comes to our portfolio. People are going to land on our portfolio, and within 2 seconds, they're going to be like, okay, I want to spend one time. This is amazing. Like, this person knows what they're doing. Or they're going to be like, I don't know. It looks kind of unprofessional. So visual is very important. However, if you want to be a UX researcher, you might not even need a portfolio. Or if you want to be like a information architect, and that might not be important, might not be super important. But if you want to be a UX UI designer or product designer, I think visual is very important. Yeah.
Great. Sunny asks about changing careers here. It looks like, how do you start looking for industry jobs coming from a research background if you have a fear of exploitation and undervaluation? Also, how do you start with UX design coming from a UX research background?
Mm-hmm. How do you start this? I think okay, so I know that a lot of UX designers lack research experience. And the fact that you come from research background is amazing. Yeah, and I know that a lot of people have like anthropology background or psychology background. And I would okay, like I think there are so many types of UX designers, and each of them has their own skill set, their own superpower. So maybe your superpower is research, but again, try to position yourself well, like know what kind of companies and what roles you want to work for. Do you want to be a UX researcher or a UX designer? And what are the requirements from the description? And then highlight your research skills and show that you can still do design, but research is so important that you can collaborate with designers, and you can do research, you can also do design, and just highlight that.
That's great. So kind of along with that, Carmen has a great question. I think kind of underlies your whole talk. How do you continue to grow and develop as a UX designer?
Yeah. So I think UX designer is still like a very vague term. I mean, I still don't know, like, how do I even define UX design? It's just a little bit of everything. I think that UX design shouldn't even be a job title. It's really like everything you do, like the engineers, the strategy, and the words. So everything, like everybody on a team is actually UX designer. Like the experience of a product is not, like as a UX designer, you shouldn't be solely responsible for the experience of the end product, right? Your job is really be the glue of the team and how to help everyone speak the same language and work towards a common goal. So I think you need to find out what are you passionate about. And again, going back to your core value, like what do you care about? Like if you want to be a leader, if you want to be a manager, then work on those skills and work for organizations that will provide you that leadership opportunities, right? Or if you want to, I don't know, if you want to start your own company, have your own app, and then maybe you want a job that can give you a good work-life balance, and you can start learning some side skills like coding and business on the side, and that's a type of growth too. So ask yourself, like, how do you want to grow? And in 5 years, and where do you see yourself?
Yeah, that's fantastic. I have a question. I loved your storytelling approach. Can you give people tips on how to become an expert storyteller, and maybe, talk about how you came to gain that skill, and how people can go about learning that themselves?
Yeah. I remember when I was writing my stories, it was really hard because I felt that my story was uninteresting. I felt like I was like not good enough. Like I can do a little bit of everything, but like I don't excel in any area. And I think most people feel that way, right? We're always very critical, overly critical about ourselves. So I started like writing journals, and I started like seeing a coach, a career coach, and I also was seeing a therapist. So those people are like mirrors. They're gonna reflect what you said, and a lot of times what you said is actually very interesting. You are just very critical about yourself. So I'm an introvert myself, so it's hard for me to be like, hey everyone, hear my story. I have to really write it down and dig through like every piece of my memory, and to find out the things that I think are interesting. And then, but are they relevant? For example, I really love cooking, and I love plants. I have like 80 plants in my apartment, and I love mushroom foraging. And I'm like, okay, I think mushroom foraging is really interesting, but how do I make it relevant? I remember I said that, hey, like user research is just like mushroom foraging. You go to the field, you study the environment, the weather, and the plants, and then you find a mushroom, you try to pay very close attention, identify it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, make it personal and make it memorable.
That's great advice. Lance has a question. Should we not use the UX designer title when applying for jobs as an entry-level person?
So I always like to start with the goal. If you don't want to start with I like to dig deeper. When I'm working on a project, I like to dig deep into the business problem. So that's why I presented core values first. Based on what you value, and you're gonna know that what type of companies you want to work for, and then you're gonna know how is their organization structured, and what are the job titles they have. I know that Google has interaction designer, and a lot of startups have product designers, and a lot of agencies have UX designers, right? And then speak their language, because I think they're still trying to figure it out. Like a lot of like jargon and overlapping information. And so once you set a specific goal, okay, this is the type of company I want to work for, and then research on their job titles and position yourself, tailor your portfolio towards that.
That's fantastic. And then another question here, and then we could take maybe one more from chat before wrapping it up. If you have like a really lofty goal, like you're in college and you say, I want to be a VP of design, and you want to set out kind of plotting your career journey, building your story. How do you get to such a lofty goal when there can be so many twists and turns along the way?
Sorry, I'm a slow reader. I need to read again. Okay. What does lofty mean?
Like a really big goal.
Okay, cool. Here's my English as second language. Lofty goal, like, how do you think about you are just starting out, and there can be so many twists and turns along the way. That's a hard one. I remember in the last meetup, the host shared that like it's not necessary. Like she doesn't recommend to set your 5-year plan. Like she recommend focus on what's next. I think that's very true. Actually, that's a like I mentioned before. It's like a living the moment kind of more floating approach. And today I just shared a more proactive approach. And it's kind of idealistic, right? That you can design everything. I think you can design the structure. You can. I think when you have a good idea of what you want and where you want to be, and that should be like a light for you. And however, there are going to be a lot of changes. Like nobody expected COVID. Like I didn't expect I'll be working from home. Like, yeah, like I'm like, okay, what's going on? So you just don't know. And so change is happening constantly. And I think it's important to know what really matters to you, what are your core values, but be flexible and be adaptive to those changes. A lot of times your career is not like a straight line. It's like, it's like a stock market, but overall it's going up.
That's good advice. Are there any more questions from the audience? Just give it a second here and see if any more come in. Let's see here. And there was a question. Wendy had a question about coaching. Do you do any sort of coaching for designers who are trying to plot out their careers? Actually, that was they're coming in a little slow here. This was Ashwag. Do you do any type of coaching for things that you discussed in your talk here?
Yeah, so I'm a mentor on adplist.com, amazingdesignpeoplelist.com, and you can find me there and book appointment for free.
Awesome. And then good follow-up to that, Sunny asks, how do you find a good career coach? Maybe talk about what do you look for in a career coach?
I don't know. I think yeah, I don't know much about coaching as a job, but I know that it would be helpful if the career coach I don't know. I think it would be helpful if they know design. They know, so they can like switch their hats. Like they can be a coach, a life coach, focus on, I don't know, like your if you're facing some like, I don't know, mentor issues or something, and they can switch hats to become a design mentor as well. Yeah, I don't know. I would do some research. Yeah, I have a coach myself. If you're interested, I could refer her.
Highly recommend coaching. I've used that over the course of my career, and it's always been beneficial. That or mentorship. Yeah.
What do you think people should look for in a career coach, Aaron?
I would look for someone that's a couple of kind of levels above you, so that you're not just talking to kind of that immediate role that you want to move into. So if you're a junior designer, talk to someone who's like a design manager or someone who is like a principal versus like a senior designer that's been there, just a couple of years more. I mean, it's good to get a vast diversity of perspectives because people will encounter different things as they go up the ladder and kind of have insights that you just aren't able to see at certain levels.
Makes sense.
Merrick has a question. When first starting out as a designer, do you suggest focusing more on your strengths and building upon them, or focusing more on the areas you need to develop and understand? That's a good question.
What do you mean focusing on the strengths? And okay, see, and building up. I guess it depends on where you want to be. If you are, for example, you are starting out and you've discovered that you really like user research, and then maybe you want to hone on those skills, and maybe you want to be a UX researcher, or if you discover you like coding, and and just develop that skill, and that will become your superpower. Like personally, I just really like everything, and I love the whole process. I think every step is connected, and it's really hard for me to choose. I wouldn't want to be a coder. So that's why, like, I don't know, I'm more intrigued by product design roles because it's more holistic. Yeah, I also like thinking about the business problem. Yeah, it's important to know how you want to position yourself. Have a goal, and work towards that goal.
Mm-hmm. Lena asks a question about Google. I can answer this one since I work there. This is an unofficial answer. That is not true. Google hires designers of all different experiences and levels. And I would say to get in as a junior designer, you should apply, have a great portfolio. And we also have interns during normal times. I'm not sure what the process is going to be this year. But do reach out on that recruiting form, and Kelly can help you out and guide you in the right direction. Are there any other questions? I'll just give it 1 second here. And yeah, I think we're good. I want to thank Yanci for speaking tonight. You got a lot of kudos in the chat here. People really love this talk. There is one more question that Ranjini has, and I'm going to ask it, and then we'll stop with this one. There are a lot of resources and talks for UX designers. Do you have a go-to place for content designers? That's interesting.
I actually don't know what content designer means.
Like a UX writer?
Okay. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one. Yeah. Do you have an answer, Aaron?
Wendy, who is running the chat, happens to be a UX writer. Maybe she can post in the chat with some tips. I will post the forms again in the chat here. We have the Tech Systems form and the Google Design form. And I want to thank Yanci for taking the time to share her journey and share these fantastic tips today. Thank you very much, Yanci.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Aaron.
All right. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.